In my view, if we had an emergency that required us to have a much larger military, we'd be able to create it. Americans would step forward if that need were there. I also believe, I sure want to help people getting higher education. I think it's a great thing for kids to get the support they need in loans and so forth. And I hear programs to forgive loans or to forgive interest or to provide low interest. It may well be that we might wisely connect some of those benefits to perhaps a year of training in the military, or a year of service at Teach America, or in City Year, or in AmeriCorps, or in other places where people who are getting a special deal from taxpayers have an opportunity to serve as well. And my guess is if a number of people took a year in training for the military, they might say, you know what, this is a pretty interesting career. But I must admit, I did not serve in the military. The reason is quite simple in my case. I fell madly in love very young, and got married and started having kids. But I must admit, don't you feel the same way? I mean, I wish I had that in my background. I wish I had that.
I look back and I'm struck by the fact that it never even entered my mind. It never seemed to enter the mind of the people in the circle.
In my generation,
I think the point as a result of having that conversation with my kids.
Yeah, in my generation, it certainly entered my mind. It was we had a draft. During my years, and we had a lottery where people's birth dates were used as the term to determine whether you would be called up, and so we all thought about going into the military. And I think it's a great experience. And I was just at the Citadel, which is a military college in South Carolina, where the great majority of their graduates, I believe, received commissions to go into various branches of service. These I think it's all guys. These guys very much. Oh, there's some female cadets now, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Does someone know?
Yes, the Citadel was the site of a big fight over just that.
Okay. Men and women. But they look very much forward to going to the military and receive academic support by virtue of their decision to go into the military. It's, for people looking at the high cost of education, it's a great option.
I have said to my kids, I didn't serve in the military, but I want you to know, if when you grow older, you decide that's something you want to pursue, your mother and I would be extraordinarily proud of you.
Absolutely.
Is that a conversation you either had with your sons or that you have now with any of your grandchildren?
They're a little young right now, the grandchildren are. But I would be proud of any one of my grandchildren that decided to participate in the military. It'd be great. Our country benefits by the sacrifice of these people, and it's a great source of training, education, technology. It teaches folks an awful lot about how the country runs. And by the way, you look at some of the great leaders in America's history, they typically have military experience. John McCain is one of my heroes, learned a great deal about this country and its foreign policy by virtue of his extraordinary service in the U.S. military.
Let me invite those who are in the audience that have questions that are interested in asking Governor Romney, please come down to the microphones at the foot of the stairs. We'll alternate one side and then the other. My request would be, in order to get as many people as possible to be heard from, try to keep it concise, put a question mark at the end of it, and then step aside and let the person behind you take their place. Sir, let's begin with you.
The stock market today is around 11,000, and when Obama took over, it was about 6,000. You took a lot of instances where Obama had done things wrong. You forgot to tell some good things. He signed a treaty yesterday in Europe, reduced the nuclear stockpile 30%, and also he sent 30,000 soldiers in Afghanistan. Is there anything good you have to say about Obama?
Yes. Let me tell you some things. Number one, but I would not include the nuclear treaty as one of them, and I'll tell you why. And follow me on this, if you will. There are two categories of nuclear weapon: what we call theater nuclear weapons and what we call strategic nuclear weapons. Both of them are atom bombs, nuclear weapons. One is put on top of a rocket that won't go across the ocean, and the other goes in a rocket, strategic, that goes across the ocean. But they're the same nuclear weapons. Russia has about 5 times as many theater nuclear weapons as we do, about 10,000 to our roughly 2,000. Those numbers, I guess, are classified, but that's the right order of magnitude. 10,000, well, I'm not privy to the real numbers, so that's as close as I can come. So 10,000 to 2,000. It's about 10 to 2 on the theater nuclear weapons. On the strategic nuclear weapons, it's approximately 2 to 2. It's approximately 2 to 2. So what does President Obama do? He agrees with Russia not to talk about theater nuclear weapons, where we're significantly outnumbered, and instead to go to the place where we're even and reduce those more. So he puts us at a greater and greater disadvantage. I'd have been very happy to have a nuclear weapon reduction treaty that included all of the above. But to continue to ignore their theater nuclear weapons, which all they have to do to become strategic is basically take the nuclear warhead and put it on a bigger rocket, is, in my opinion, not a wise course for America. But by the way, I agree with what the president's done in Iraq. I find it amazing that the issue in the Democratic primary was who could get out of Iraq fastest and who was the most anti-Iraq. And yet this president is following the strategy that John McCain and George W. Bush have put in place. And I applaud that. So I appreciate what he's done in Iraq. I appreciate what he's done in Iraq. I appreciate the fact that he's doing precisely what George Bush and John McCain suggested. He voted against the surge in Iraq, but fortunately he is applying the surge in Afghanistan. And that's another place where I acknowledge that he's done a good thing. I appreciate the fact that he appears to be taking on the teachers' unions to a certain degree and saying that we're going to try and have more charter schools, although he eliminated the charter school in Washington, D.C., or he allowed that to be eliminated. He didn't do it himself. So we'll see how his education secretary does, but he doesn't do. He does. Oh, the stock. By the way, the stock market is terrific for all those who are big stock investors. They're having a very happy time. But for the 10% roughly of our people who are unemployed, they're not so happy. And throwing $787 billion out the window, no question, has added something to the stock market and added something to the economy, about 2% growth to the GDP. But it has not created jobs, and his stimulus could have been focused on actually creating jobs. And so on his stimulus, I do not give him credit. And to the fact that the economy is going to recover, I know the president will take credit for the economy recovering. Of course he will. Of course he will, because any politician would. But as we all know, we don't have recessions that go down and stay down forever. It will come back. I've been saying, every economist I know has said it will come back. And the stock market will anticipate that, as it's doing. And the economy is going to get better. And we will create more jobs. But unfortunately, the president's policies have caused a lot of pain for people who've been unemployed that did not have to be unemployed if that stimulus had been focused on creating jobs.
Okay. Next question, sir, please.
I'm Sonari Lutton with NPR and WBUR. You're traveling around the country promoting your book. Many believe it's a preamble to a presidential run. What is your timetable for announcing or making a decision?
I can't imagine making a decision like that prior to the last moment that you have to make a decision, and because it is a very difficult decision, and I think the time frame most people consider is sometime after November. Right now, my energy is focused on trying to get some conservatives elected in various states in November, and when that's over.
If we can have less cheering and less booing, we can hear more from Governor Romney.
It's like Fenway Park. When that's over, then obviously we'll begin thinking about it. My family and I will discuss it during the holidays, and my guess is we'll make a decision sometime after that. Thanks.
Good.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Governor, I want to ask you some specific events in our history. Ask you if you think any of these rise to the level of that which ought to be apologized for. The shabby treatment of the American Indians, and slavery, and lynching, and enforced segregation, Tuskegee experiment, internment of the Japanese Americans in World War II. How about McCarthyism, or how about failure to liberate Cuba in '61, giving support to the liberators? Or how about Roe v. Wade? Does any of that, just mention, rise to the level of that which ought to be apologized for?
None of those items rise to the level of our president going on Arabic TV and apologizing and saying America dictates to other nations, or going across Europe and saying we've been arrogant, dismissive, and derisive. Those are things where individuals inside our country may well have deserved the apology, and in many cases have received the apology of the United States of America. But going around the world and apologizing for America is not, in my view, the right course at a time when the fires of anti-Americanism are burning bright.
So you endorse the apology of those events?
I've told you what I'm going to say about it. Thanks. Though I think for the most part, the events you described, I'm not going to go. I can't remember every single one you thought of, but obviously those were dark days and mistakes in America's past. Look, our conduct of the war in Iraq.